Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
What's up? Matt here from flipweekly.com. Welcome to another episode of the Flip Weekly podcast. This is the 6th episode of the Flip Weekly podcast. If you're coming from the newsletter, I'm a seasoned pro over there with 57 issues. This is the 6th. This is, I'm not going to say bad, I'm going to say I'm learning. I'm a learner. I've got my training wheels on. I'm not too sure how this is all going. I don't know how long it's going to go for. Thank you for tuning in. You're tuning in because you want to know or you want to learn how to make money going to thrift stores and garage sales. You know, I'm not the best writer, I'm not the best podcaster, but I know how to find items in garage sales and thrift stores that make money. I mean, I'm going to go through some of my sales today, and I mean, $1 into $150 within 48 hours. Something that I found in a thrift store and it sold just like that for $150, and I paid $1 for it. I mean, this has to be one of the best side hustles that anyone can get into, because if you have $1 to your name and an eBay account and a computer and a internet connection, you can make $150 from one thing. I mean, most people have phones now. This has to be the best side hustle. I mean, you got a phone, you got the internet, an eBay account. I don't know the requirements for an eBay account. I don't know what the fuck they are, but I mean, do you need a home address? Surely not. Maybe you need a bank account. Okay, we're not going to get into what you need to get started. We're going to assume you have all of that. If you have $1 to your name, you can turn it into $150 if you find this item in a thrift store. I'm also going to be talking about a journey that I went on Monday, where I traveled 200 kilometers, 100 kilometers there, 100 kilometers back for a Facebook Marketplace deal that, to be honest, wasn't even that great. I think I romanticized the trip. Like, I'm going to travel this far for a Facebook Marketplace deal. I'm going to spend $40 in total. I mean, I'm not making thousands of dollars from this deal. I'm not even making half of that. It's a bit embarrassing, but it was good. I'm going to talk all about that. I also want to talk about this new collection that I'm starting. You know, people sell Harry Potter books, but I want to sell, or at least I want to collect to sell every single Harry Potter book first edition hardcover with the dust jacket. Why? Well, because if you buy all the Harry Potter paperbacks, you can sell them for what, $50? But if you have the first editions hardcover dust jacket in good condition, I'm going to tell you exactly how much money you can sell those for. Trust me, it's a lot more than $50. Plus, I want to get to the bottom of Footrot Flats. I mean, I see this book mentioned everywhere. Every time I've found one, I've looked up the comps and it's been like $5, $10. I found out exactly what to look for when you're buying Footrot Flats, or if you find it in the wild, and you can make $1,000. So we got all that and more. If you haven't already, please jump onto the Flip Weekly socials. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, I'm sure you have, because that's how you found this. Please go to flipweekly.com, enter your email address, help us grow. You can also refer a friend and you can win some prizes. I mean, not win some prizes. You can, if you refer X amount of people, you win things. No, you don't win them. You're doing work. So if you refer X amount of people, you get certain prizes. So you can get shout outs, you can get stickers, you can get mystery boxes. It's really cool. And nobody has referred the amount of people required for a mystery box, which isn't even that many. And it's worth hundreds of dollars. So it's worthwhile going on to Flip Weekly and sharing the newsletter. But yeah, if you haven't done any of that, please do it. I'll sit here patiently while you're doing it. And no, let's get straight into it. What I want to talk about first is my little journey that I went on, where I drove 200 kilometers for a Facebook Marketplace deal. The world's worst 200 kilometer journey for a deal. I'm not walking away with something that's incredibly rare. I'm not walking away with something that is going to make me $10,000. It's not even going to make me $1,000. It was a marketplace deal for some wrestling figures. Take you back to Friday night. I'm browsing Facebook, as you do, and I found a post from this Facebook group that I'm a part of. It's like Aussie Toy Collectors. I was a member because I've sold a few things from there to private collectors. This guy had posted about selling some of his wrestling figures, 20 in total. He wanted $2 each. He would not post them. He would only accept pickup. That obviously narrows the market for the buyer. A buyer in Victoria, I mean, shouldn't be flying to this location for this deal. I saw the location and it was around 70 minutes from where I am. So I'm in Sydney. This was traveling north, outside of the city, way outside the city, almost to like the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's not really Australian outback, you know what I mean? It's more like suburbia, but suburbia in the bush or suburbia in muddy dirt roads. When I got out of the car, I noticed, my shoes instantly fucked. But yeah, I saw these 20 wrestling action figures, $2 each. Like I said, 8:30 at night, I wasn't doing much comp research. You know, it's a Friday night. I saw them. I saw the pickup location, and I saw one photo that had a wrestler that I knew. I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 92. I grew up through what was called the Attitude Era in WWF at the time, now WWE. Yeah, I loved wrestling. I loved all the characters. I loved, I think my favorite character was The Undertaker. And I think most people would at least recognize that name. He's now retired and losing his marbles. That's sort of what happened with this one character that I saw in the photo. So one of the characters I saw, his name is Chris Benoit. Now, if you're a wrestling fan, you'll know all about Chris Benoit. But if you're not a wrestling fan, Chris Benoit was one of the best in the business when he was wrestling. He spent over 20 years wrestling. He was a champion. He won all the titles. But in 2007, murdered his wife and his youngest son. And then he committed suicide after that. As you can imagine, the WWE, the wrestling company, wiped him from existence. They didn't want to mention him. They didn't want to talk about him. They didn't want to acknowledge any of his achievements for good reason. You know, this guy killed his family. That's fucked up, man. But that has drove the price up of some of his action figures. You know, if you're a collector, you want to collect everything, right? You want a complete collection. And that's what I'm going to assume why people want these figures, not to praise him or acknowledge him or whatever. It's just to complete a collection. So his action figures are now worth a bit more money than some of the other ones. And I saw that he was a part of the collection for $2. And I figured, I looked him up on eBay and this exact figure was listed for $50 US, which is approximately 80 Australian dollars, with 20 people watching it. And from what I could see, that was the only one there. So, if I listed it up for sale on eBay for $80, that would pay for all of the figures that I'd buy plus profit. And, then if all the other figures are worthless, then I could just lot them up. And even if I sell them for $2 each, just like this guy, that would be an extra, $38. So I'd be way in the profit. That's what I decided to do. I went to, funny thing is I messaged this guy on the Friday and he didn't get back to me till the Monday. But when I was having this conversation with him on the Friday, I was like, when can I come pick these up? And he's like, any day. And I'm like, okay, today? Or Saturday, Sunday? And he didn't get back to me. It wasn't until Monday that he was like, oh yeah, I only just saw this. And it's like, okay, well, not any day. But yeah, he messaged me on Monday at 2 p.m. saying, yeah, you can come down, gave me his address. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was adding up the time, 70 minutes there, 70 minutes back. So I decided to do it. I drove down there, paid the guy, collected the figures, got all 20 of them. He included one that was half broken, missing limbs. He's like, I don't know if you want it, but I've just thrown it in. I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, brought them back. I went through them. I comped up each and every one. The Chris Benoit figure is obviously the most valuable out of all of them. There was no real hidden gem apart from that one. We had a couple that were worth, $30, a few that were worth 25. Some of the others are in the $10, $15 range. But yeah, it was a good deal, and I worked out that the total listed value, if I listed them all individually, was $463.44. So you minus the $40 that I spent, brings it down to $420, minus eBay fees, maybe like $350, minus the fuel, like $320, minus like the 7-Eleven Slurpee, like $317.50. So, there's a bit of profit there to be made. Time that it took to drive there was a bit of a pain. But yeah, these wrestling figures, if you can get them for $2 each, I think you should 100% pick them up. Like, if you can get a hidden gem, there's some that you don't even think would be worth money, but they're wrestlers that have, only in the business for a year, or they're wrestlers that have moved on to different companies, and it's something, to keep an eye out for. The thing I will say, though, is if you're going to pick them up in a thrift store, if you find them or at a garage sale, just make sure all the limbs are like tight. When it comes to like action figures that were made back then, this is really prevalent in action figures from the 80s, but the limbs just get like really loose and they can't hold their hands up or can't hold their arms up, and their legs wobble, and it's not very desirable for people, especially if they want to play with them or if they want to stand them up, if their limbs are like fucking dead. It's like they've been laying on their arm for fucking 30 minutes. That was the trip that I did. $463. What I'm going to do is I'm going to list the Chris Benoit figure for $80. I'll do that first, and then I don't know what I'll do with the rest. I think I want to do an auction just for the excitement of an auction. If I could list all 19 up, I don't really want to be listing them individually because I don't want to fucking do 19 trips to the post office for $20 action figures. So I think if I can list them up as an auction, I'll start it cheap. I might even start at like $20, free post, just gamble with it, and just see where it goes. I think that without that Chris Benoit figure, there's $380 in value. I feel like it would get to maybe like $100, maybe $80, free post. I'll do that. Sorry, I'm thinking on the fly here, and I probably should have thought more about this before doing the deal, because I don't have a clear plan inside. This is what I'm like, man. This is just gambling. It really is just gambling. I didn't know any of these other figures, but don't be like that. But at least that there's value in these figures, in these wrestling action figures. You've probably seen on all the different reseller channels and stuff, they always talk about WWE action figures, and some are good, some are bad, some are just $15-20. You're also competing with them brand new in the box, which is hard. So don't spend too much money on them. $2 each is probably the most I would pay. The next item I have already spoiled, okay, and I promise I'm not always going to be talking about this subject. It's the Wiggles. How many times has Matt gone on about the Wiggles? All the fucking time, it seems like. But I found the Wiggles TV Series 2 in a thrift store for $1. This TV show, TV Series 2 of the Wiggles, it just goes crazy on eBay. There's 3 in the series. If you jump onto the newsletter, you'll be able to see photos. You'll also be able to see a video on Instagram that I posted about it. But it's very easy to spot in a thrift store. It literally just says the Wiggles TV series and then the number on the spine. And if you take a look at it, you'll be able to see the original cast on the front. The TV series is one of the most expensive Wiggles DVDs you can find. So there's 3 in the series, like I said. If you find TV series 1, $100, instant $100. It will sell. It'll sell for $100. If you find TV series 2, which is the one that I just found, $150. Every single day of the week. TV series 3, at least $200. If you list it for $200, you will sell it for $200. Now, if you get all 3, and I mean, when I find one of these in a thrift store, I always get excited thinking that I'm about to find all 3. Because if you find all 3, that's like $500 you can ask for. You can tack on a premium because you have all 3. I think that's what it would sell for. If you check out eBay though for this complete series, there's some people asking for $1,000, and I've seen sold comps on eBay for $1,000 for this TV series. Can you imagine making $1,000 from 3 Wiggles DVDs? Like, what would people say if you told them, I found 3 Wiggles DVDs in a thrift store for $3. Oh yeah, how much did you get for them? $1,000. It's like, what the fuck? $1,000? I'll just say it now. The one that I bought, it sold in 48 hours for $150. These things, they go like crazy. And I might have said it before, might have said in the newsletter before, that I have people messaging me on eBay saying, if you find this particular Wiggles DVD, can you please like let me know? Like, they think that I'm the Wiggles guy, and I might be. Yeah, I had somebody actually message me the other day that I'd sold a Wiggles DVD to, and there was an issue with the delivery, but it was just sent to the wrong. It was sent to the next door neighbor's house by accident. But she told me that she had a 15-year-old son with cerebral palsy, and he's obsessed with like the Wiggles and DVDs and stuff. And she said that they're searching for every released copy that they can get. So she said that the one that they got off me was for Easter. She said if he just doesn't receive the DVD for Christmas or birthdays or Easter, he loses it. So she was being organized, which is like mum of the year right there. But yeah, people love the Wiggles. They can't get enough of them. My niece loves the Wiggles. Everyone loves the Wiggles. I love the Wiggles too. I've sold the TV series 1 before for like $100. I sold this one, TV series 2, for $150. I just need to find the third one. And what's funny is, like, if you go on eBay for like sold comps for the Wiggles DVDs, there's so many there that are just my listings. And I can tell they're my listings because I use that horrible AI background on the listing. So it's like every other DVD is like this plain white background, and you have Matt's DVDs of the Wiggles with like these colorful fucking backgrounds that stand out that look horrible. But man, you need to be finding these in thrift stores, and I'm sure you guys are going to start picking them off the shelves, and I'll see them less and less, which is good. I want them to be going into your carts, to be sending them off to people that love the Wiggles, like that 15-year-old son, putting those DVDs in those hands. And yeah, I mean, fucking Wiggles. Let's talk about Harry Potter. Harry Potter is one of the most popular books of all time. The very last Harry Potter book, The Deathly Hallows, sold 8 million books within 24 hours in the United States alone. I can't think of another book that has done anything like that since then. Now, the reason I can't think that is because why would I know that? But in the same sense, Harry Potter is still really popular. They're remaking it into a TV show, I think, last time I heard. And yeah, if you find these books, you can get around $50 to $60 for number 1 to number 7 in paperback format on eBay. It's really not that great. If you're getting the books for $1 each, that's $7 plus shipping on top of that, maybe $15, so that's $21. Chuck on eBay fees, $30. You're left with maybe $30, maybe even $20 profit. I mean, if you can get Harry Potter books in large amounts, then yeah, they're going to sell because they sell all the time on eBay. But I don't want to just do that. I don't want to sell 7 books for a $20 profit, especially when you check out some of the books I've sold in the past, and we're talking like $200 for a book. Just in this issue alone, there's a what sold for $200. Anyway, I've been forced into collecting Harry Potter books. I was in a thrift store and I found books number 4 to number 7 in hardcover format, dust jackets, and they're all first edition. Now, I don't want to talk too much about the status of books in general, okay? Because it can get complicated. It can, you can get first American editions, first US editions, first Australian editions. You can have books that are first prints, which are worth more than, books that are on their 45th print. What I'm going to do, okay, I'm not going to differentiate between prints. I'm going to try and collect every single Harry Potter book in hardcover format, dust jacket, first edition, from number 1 to number 7, and I should be able to get like $300-$400 out of them. So these 4 books that I found were between $1 and $2 each. So my outlay isn't, a lot of money. But the thing with Harry Potter is the later books are all, there's going to be so many first editions of them because the books were so popular. Like I said, 9 million just in the US alone for the Deathly Hallows. So just think of what their print run would be for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. They would have printed like millions upon millions of these books. They all would have been first editions. So it's a book that isn't rare. In a lot of the listings on Harry Potter book sets, you'll see like complete set, like 3 first edition or 2 first edition. And they're always usually the later series books. Because finding a first edition Philosopher's Stone or a Chamber of Secrets is a lot more difficult. I actually have never came across a first edition Philosopher's Stone when I've been out in the wild, and I always check because I know that's the most valuable. You know, the very first Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone released in the UK in hardcover first edition format, there was only 500 of them made, and they were like all given to libraries. So it's going to be very hard to come across a first edition, you know, UK Philosopher's Stone. You might be able to find a first Australian edition or a first American edition, which will be the Sorcerer's Stone. They're not as valuable, but technically they're all first editions, yeah? So that's what I'm going to be aiming for. I don't think I'll ever come across a true first edition, first printing Philosopher's Stone because, like I said, there was only 500 made, and I am not that lucky, let's be real. I live in Australia. That's not to say Australia isn't lucky. I mean, like, these were printed in Britain. So for them to come across here, I know Britain has a history of sending things to Australia, but it's not Harry Potter books. I will probably find a Philosopher's Stone first edition, Australian edition, I guess, or an American edition. Either way, I want to complete the set now that I have 4. They're not going to take up any room because they're just going to go in my bookshelf. And yeah, eventually I'll list them as first edition complete set. And I should be able to get like $200, $300, $400. I've included some comps in the newsletter. You can ask for around that much, and you can ask for more if they're in better condition, because that's what collectors are looking at. They want to see if there's any foxing on the pages. They want to see if there's, you know, rips or tears in the dust jackets, etc. But yeah, you don't want to be paying much more than what I'm paying for these books, especially paperback if you want to sell them, because yeah, you're going to get $50-$60. There's not much wiggle room or not much profit there. But yeah, I think it's doable. Even though I've never come across a first edition Philosopher's or a Chamber, maybe not even a Prisoner of Azkaban. Like, or is that one of the ones I found? I don't know. What does the order go? Chamber of Secrets, no, Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire. Okay, I'll look at it later. I won't subject you to this. But yeah, there's some value in the hardcovers, and if you can complete the set, make some money. Just don't do the paperbacks unless you can get them for $1 each, okay? And because there's just not that much money in them. They'll sell quickly, but you're going to be making like $20 profit. So yeah, not for me. Look, I found some cool Pokemon stuff in thrift stores. I find Pokemon, I check it out, because you never know with Pokemon. Was it last week or the week before? I found the sealed Pokemon booster packs. They're valuable, yes. And I check out basically any Pokemon that I find. And this week I found a plush. It's a keychain. It had its original tag on it. And it was Pikachu. I found him in this little box. And I was like, oh, is that Pikachu? Like, I could see his ears and his yellow face and cheeks. And I lifted him out the box, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Pikachu was wearing a kimono with like a hair braid, carrying a tray of apples. I was like, what is this? What is going on? Why is Pikachu in a kimono? Why is he carrying apples? Why does he have a bow in his hair? He had his tag, and I looked on the tag. It was all in Japanese, and the one word in English that I saw was Pokemon Center. And, you know, I stopped laughing then, and I was like, okay, stop, Matt. We know that Pokemon Center is stores in Japan and a couple other places, I think. There's not that many of them. All they do is they sell Pokemon stuff, and they sell exclusive items that you can't find anywhere else. So immediately I'm like, okay, this is a different Pokemon. This is a different sort of Pikachu. And we all know that different can usually mean valuable, because, you know, think of how many Pikachu plushes they're making of him, like I was going to say completely naked, but it sounds weird. You know what I mean, though, like not wearing any clothes. Yeah, think of how many of those are made versus how many of them are made with Pikachu carrying fruit with a bow in his hair wearing a kimono. The difference in runs would be insane. So with that information in mind, I saw there was a $3 price tag on him. Her, sorry. It turned out it was a her. I looked it up, and wow, this Pokemon was released exclusively in a Pokemon Center in Kyoto, in Japan. There was 2 released in this sort of set. So there was a female and a male Pikachu. They were going to a tea party, and the female seems to be worth more money than the male. And when I say worth a lot more, we have sold comps at $126. We have sold comps $95, $87. Some of them are worth more if they still have the original tag. It's all based on condition. But this Pokemon that I found for $3 is essentially a $100 plush keychain, just because it was an exclusive. So this is the thing with Pokemon, man. Like, you always want to be checking it out, especially if they're looking a bit not weird, but different. Because they have the chance of being valuable. And also when it comes to things in foreign languages in thrift stores, that is almost a sign to me to look the item up, because I can just picture the conversation in the back room, like, do you know what this says? Do you know what it says? No, let's just chuck like a $5 sticker on it. By the way, I think that's what happened with the Blythe doll that I found. That was $5. I think it had a different language on it written on the back. Yeah, that sold for like $700. So yeah, this Pikachu had Japanese writing on the tag. It doesn't look like a $125 item. It's a plush keychain. Like, this thing looks like you'd pick it up in a gas station for $2. I mean, I'm not talking about how Pikachu looks. Like, pick up this Pikachu in a gas station for $2. I mean, just the overall vibe of this item is just like, it's $2. But no, $125. I've listed it on eBay for, I think I did 80. Yeah, I think I did around $80. Immediately, it had like, as soon as it got one view, it got one watcher. So I think it will sell. I don't know how quickly, because at the end of the day, it is an $80 keychain. But yeah, you want to be looking out for Pokemon Center on Pokemon items. The tag is always going to make it more valuable. You want to check out the condition of the plush, like if there's stains or something on it. If you find a plush with a stain on it and it has its original tag, it's like a gamble, because yes, it has its tag, but you can't wash it because you can't take the tag off. And these are things that collectors look at. And the other thing is, like, you want to make sure that if it doesn't have like its original like paper tag, look for the wash tag on it. Make sure that it's legit, because a Pokemon branded item will have a Pokemon branded wash tag attached to the item. You don't want like a wash tag that just says like made in China. You want like copyright Pokemon, you want like their brand information. But yeah, I don't pick up a plush toy if it doesn't have a tag on it that is official, because to me it's worthless. You could list it on eBay for whatever a standard plush item is, but people that are buying plush as a collector's item, they're not going to be interested in something that isn't real. Now look, I've heard a lot about Footrot Flats, the New Zealand-based comic book that was released in the late 70s to early 90s, that was originally published in newspapers and then turned into physical books. I always hear people going on about them, that you should be picking them up, but every time I found one and comped it up, it's been like $5-6 on eBay, and I'm like, what is the point? I found one in the wild this week, and I figured I'm just gonna jump in and see what the deal is. Like, why is this so popular? This comic strip, when it was in its height in the 80s, was so popular in New Zealand that it was selling like millions of copies, and New Zealand even created like a fun park based on Footrot Flats. It definitely doesn't exist anymore. I've checked out eBay to see if there's like any merchandise from it on active and sold, and there isn't really. There's merchandise to do with Footrot Flats, like plush toys and stuff they can sell for hundreds of dollars, but no like memorabilia from it. Oh, by the way, you can get a Footrot Flats spoon. You know how people collect those spoons? You see them in thrift stores all the time, and they're worthless. The Footrot Flats spoon is worth like $150 if you find it. I mean, you don't want to be going through all those spoons in thrift stores or at garage sales looking for just this one specific spoon. But that sort of like activated my brain to think, oh, I wonder if other like pop culture stuff created, those collectible spoons. So maybe I'll have a look at those spoons next time I'm in one of those stores. But anyway, the Footrot Flats, the books, okay, there's 27 in a series. The very first ones, number 1, 2, all the way up to like 5, 6, 7, on eBay they sell for nothing, okay? They're $3 plus $6 post, $10. There is no value in them. If you ignore the lower numbered books and you go for the higher ones, so like number 26, for example, that sells for $150, okay? So you really have a decision to make if you find a single Footrot Flats book in the wild, comic book in the wild, okay? You either need to just buy it and sell it because it'll have a quick sell-through rate. You won't make much money. Or you can just ignore the lower numbered books and sell the higher numbered books. So just ignore the 5s and the 6s and just go and only pick up like the 20s or the 21s, whatever, 26. I found number 20 and it sells for like $45. If I found 26, like I said, $150. Or you can do what I'm doing with the Harry Potter books and you can try and find them all and complete the set. It might take a while. I think that if you just found one here and there, I mean, it'd probably take an eternity. But if you find like a whole bunch at a garage sale, like if you find 10 or 15 at a garage sale, you could maybe piece the rest together over time. And if you get them cheap enough, say you get them for $2 each and you find all 27 books, that's $54 in total. If you then list them up on eBay for sale, you'll get $1,000. There's sold comps for number 1 to 27 of like $1,050. So it would be worth doing that. I find them occasionally. I found one the other day, and then that re-jogged my memory of finding like 2 at another thrift store a few weeks ago, but I didn't pick them up because I sort of wrote them off. But yeah, once I found this latest one, I was like, I don't want to write them off because everyone harps on about them. Let's just see what the deal is. And yeah, the deal is, just to remember, there's 27 in the series. The later ones are the most valuable, and if you find them all, you can get $1,000. Now, there's a few other items that I bought this week that I'm not going to go into. If you want to check them out, go onto flipweekly.com and view the newsletter. I'll just quickly go through them. There's a Michael Bolton signed book that included the original ticket of the concert, which I thought was cool. It should be worth about $60 that I bought for $5. There's a $5 Mambo t-shirt that I found, which was the original Farting Dog from 1989. It was double-sided. There was a white version of it that recently sold for $80. This one was black, and it had a stain in it. I forgot to mention that in the newsletter. It had a stain. I didn't really worry about it because I took it home. I used some stain cleaner. I'll find out the brand for you in a second. Wait, let me find the brand for you now. It's called Sard, and it's a powder. You use hot or warmish water, a cup of this Sard powder, chuck in your clothes into like a sink in your laundry room, submerge it, leave it in there for like overnight if it's a bad stain, and then take it out the next day, wash it, dry it, and then for me, the stain came out. I don't know what the stain was. I'm not even going to speculate what it was, but it came out easily, and I listed that up. So that should go on to sell. A 1989 shirt. I thought that was really cool. I was a bit surprised that it was only going for like $80, but still, 1989 original Mambo. Pretty cool. The other thing was this Pokemon binder, which holds Pokemon cards. I feel like I've talked a lot about the same sort of category, the same sort of niche this week. There's a lot of Pokemon. I don't really find that much Pokemon just lately for some reason. Yeah, as a Pokemon binder, it holds about 80 cards. It's out of print, which is weird to say for a binder. They no longer make it. So it's somewhat valuable. I found it for $2, and it had sold comps in like $69 range. So I've put that up for around $80. It's pretty cool. It's not the original Pokemon card binder. That can sell for a lot of money if you find it. It's one of those things where people forget that the item that is holding like something valuable inside of it can also be valuable. That's happened before for me with like Nintendo Game Boy cases, like the pouches, them being valuable, but people don't see them as being valuable. Yeah, they're something cool to remember is just, sometimes items that hold valuable items. Wait, does that make sense? Sometimes the items that hold valuable things inside of it can also be valuable. You chuck things into a $10,000 safe, so that all makes sense. But that's everything that I bought this week. I think everything that's been included. I'm going to jump into the what solds and let's go through those. Actually, before I get into the solds, I want to give a shout out to somebody. I want to give a shout out to Danielle, who has written into Flip Weekly and has told me a bit of a story about some of the items that she's been able to find. There's some value there. She's been able to find a couple of Warhammer books. I've found Warhammer before, and she's also been able to find them. I'm going to read out some of this email right now. Hopefully that can inspire you to go out hunting for these books. She says, I have found Warhammer books in thrift stores numerous times. The only reason I know about these is through your newsletter. I've been subscribed since around edition 7 or 8 maybe. I have 8 books all up, found over the course of 3 shopping trips. I have not listed them because I have no idea if I should list them separately or as bundles. She goes on to say the books that she was able to find. She's gone on to say that they're just a few of the things she's purchased because of the knowledge from Flip Weekly, which is really, really nice. And I had some spare time and I looked into what she was able to find. She included names of the books and she also included photos of the books. So I replied to her explaining what it was that she found, because it seemed like she said that she wasn't too sure what they were. And I've explained, I've actually broken down each book and the sell-through rates of each of them. It turns out those 8 books that she was able to find had an estimated listing value of approximately $430. Now, Danielle hasn't told me how much she's paid for the books, but they're all from thrift stores, so I'm going to assume they weren't marked up. But yeah, there were some really, really good finds. She found something called the Warhammer 40,000 Eisenhorn trilogy. Now, look, you're probably thinking like, I have no idea what that is. I'll never be able to find it. All you need to know is that Warhammer in the book section is good, okay? You find that and there's a chance that you have a killer item, just like Danielle here, okay? She found this Warhammer 40,000 Eisenhorn trilogy. If that doesn't mean anything to you, just think it's a Warhammer trilogy, okay? It's 3 books. All are the same, it's like 1, 2, 3, okay? They have a sell-through rate of 71%, which means that if you list them up, there's a 71% chance they're going to sell within 90 days. So they're in demand. They're all in sequential order. That makes sense. As a trilogy, there's only 3. Of course, they're in sequential order. But those 3 books alone, my recommendation was going to be to list them for $200 because that's what the sold comps are showing. Each individual book is around a $50 to $60 book. But because she has the trilogy, she has 1, 2, and 3, she can list it for a bit of a premium. People pay more if they don't have to piece together a collection. So $200 that she should be able to get for those 3 books. And then one of the last books that she said was called Warhammer Age of Sigmar Gloomspite. Now, you, me, and Danielle have no idea what the fuck this means. We just know Warhammer equals good. I looked it up. It has the best sell-through rate of all of these books. It's sitting at 200%. That's a 200% sell-through rate. So it will sell, and it will sell quickly. It will probably sell the quickest out of all of them. And it's a $100 book. So that is insane. I mean, congratulations to Danielle for being able to find these books and picking up all 8. She said that these were from 3 shopping trips. So she's gone out, the first time and found some Warhammer. Didn't list them, didn't comp them, I don't think, and then has still done it. Like, that is commitment. That is real commitment to Flip Weekly by continuing to buy these books without even selling the first time. So massive props to her. She's going to make a ton of money. She's going to make $400, and if not more, like, if she holds on to them for a bit longer, maybe they go up in price. She can get 500 for them. Maybe they become rarer but in like a month's time. Who knows? It's just insane that she was able to find them. And that's just huge congratulations. And thank you for writing in. And of course, if anyone else wants to write in, you can email me at matt@flipweekly.com, or you can go to flipweekly.com and click the contact button. Or of course, I'm all over social media, instagram.com/flipweekly. All of the socials are available on the Flip Weekly website. Write in, tell me what you found, give me some praise. You're legally obligated to. And let's now move on to what has sold. What have I sold this week? Well, I've sold a lot, and I attribute it to increasing my promoted rate to, what was it, like 8%? I jumped from 3% to 8% because I was like, I want to get rid of some more shit. And it has worked, I honestly think that it's worked. I've had a lot of sales. I don't mind paying like an extra 5% in fees, I guess, because when I buy things, I buy them with a high margin. I want to turn $1 into 100 or 150, which I've done with the first item. And the thing that I talked about earlier was the Wiggles. We're going to talk about 2 DVDs just to start with. The Wiggles, I've talked enough about it, but that I turned 1 into 150 with the Wiggles. I don't think I did 8% for the promoted with that, just because I knew that it was going to sell regardless. That's the thing with promoted listings. Like, I'm not going to promote a listing like 8% if I know the sell-through rate is exceptionally high. It's just, there's no point to doing it. You want to be promoting items that you don't think are going to sell quickly unless you do that. Like if there's 10,000 items in a category and you want to stand out, obviously that 8% is good. I'm not saying to you, by the way, to do 8%. That's a lot. Your margins might not be that high. But yeah, for me, if I have like a one-of-a-kind item, I'm not going to waste money on even more fees by promoting it, because chances are the people that want it have like set up like a saved search and they'll get notified when it's listed. So yeah, like for example, I've always talked about Sega World Sydney, the old amusement park in Sydney that has memorabilia worth hundreds if not thousands. If I list a Sega World Sydney hat, I'm not going to promote it, because the people that want that item are going to find that item regardless. But anyway, yes, I had a lot of sales. The Wiggles, yes. The other one was an $80 DVD, and that was HR Puff and Stuff. Who knew that we still had fans of HR Puff and Stuff? I love HR Puff and Stuff. My parents grew up with it as kids, and then they showed it to us. They indoctrinated us into the lovable HR Puff and Stuff, the ugly old witch. And yeah, that DVD, the complete collection on DVD, is worth $80. And I think that might be more than the VHS too. The VHS always gets a huge rap, but I don't think it's worth $80 like the DVD. So yeah, if you see that big fucking yellow monster in the DVD section, pick it up, man. Like, and probably watch it too, because it's such a great series. Like the puppetry in it, the costumes, even the music, the theme song at the beginning of HR Puff and Stuff is so iconic. Like I hear it once and it gets stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Yeah, it just brings back memories of being on holiday with my family when I was a kid, and dad pulling out the VHS, which had the googly eyes on it. I don't know if you remember. It was like this big box set VHS, which had Puff and Stuff with the googly eyes. And that, yeah, it just brings back memories of being on holiday watching it. Find that DVD, sell it for $80. It didn't sell that quick for me, maybe because I listed it for $80. I listed it probably months ago by now, and I don't check pricing like months later. I probably should. So who knows if the market's now down to $50 and I stood out with my 8% listings. But yeah, find it, buy it, and yeah, you're good to go for $80. Now the next item, I mean, if we were just doing the 60s with HR Puff and Stuff, HR Puff and Stuff came out in 1969, which I just looked up because I was about to say these might have been made in the same era, but I underestimated how old HR Puff and stuff is. This next item was made in 1989, so 20 years later, and still in perfect condition. I swear to God. Okay, it's a toy. It was made for children. It was by the brand VTech, and it's called a Phone Pals. Okay, it was a bright red telephone with a yellow phone attached to it and a phone book with a bunch of numbers. You turned it on. It's battery powered. You press the numbers to call the people in the phone book. It made sounds. It's a kid's toy. So it was really cool. I remember it somehow from my childhood, even though it was made before I was born. So I don't know how I remember it. I remember, just the look of it, the telephone that's like attached to it with a cord that doesn't have any sound coming out of it. The sound comes out of the actual machine. But it's funny just thinking about this now. Like if you give it to a kid, if I gave it to my 1-year-old niece now and she grew up with it, like, first of all, she has no idea, or she will eventually have no idea what a phone with a cord is. Okay. She would have no idea what a phone book is. And the fact that the numbers that you have to press and it's not like a touch screen, she'd be like, what the fuck is this? Where is my iPhone, Uncle Matt? I mean, yeah, this toy is, it surprised me because I found it for $5 in a thrift store, and the box that it was in was literally like in mint condition. So much so that I'm thinking, like, I wish that they graded these old toys and not just other collectibles, because oh my God, the box, mint box, I opened it up, everything inside of it was there. They had the phone thing, and then they had the instruction manual. The instruction manual alone was mint. Like, you got to understand, this is so rare for a toy that's from 1989. Like, think of the condition that I am in, and then think of the exact opposite. Like, this box, whoever donated it took very good care of it, and no water damage. I don't know where it was sitting. Like, if they told me this was sitting in a safe, I would believe them. So I bought it for $5. I think when it comes to this sort of thing, the thrift store didn't look at like how old it was, or they didn't care about the condition. But yeah, I immediately recognized it. It was sitting on the floor of the thrift store with a $5 sticker. I didn't really know what the comps were because there isn't that many of them. You find this outside of the box occasionally on eBay, and those prices are around like the $50 mark. But I listed this up for $150 and it went on to sell, and that's gone somewhere within Australia. So yeah, when it came to this, like, if the item is only loose and you're the only one with the box, you're the only one with the instructions, I could have asked for $1,000, but you just have to be realistic. Who's going to buy it for $1,000? But for $150, it made sense for this person, and they've bought it. And I mean, it's sort of sad to see it go because I recognized it. But when I asked my family if they recognized it, they said no. So I don't know how that works. I mean, if I dreamt about it, no, I didn't dream about a phone. Yeah, VTech 1989 Phone Pals telephone toy. Look it up on eBay. Check it out on the newsletter if you want to see what it looks like. I mean, if you don't know what a phone book looks like or what a corded phone looks like, check it out. This next item I sort of got lucky with. I remember picking it up in a thrift store just randomly from the book section, and saw that it comped up for like $100, and I was like, okay, that's cool. So I picked it up. It's a book called Michelle Remembers from 1981. And it's the first edition with the hardcover and the dust jacket. But it's very hard to tell you what to look out for about this book because it was complete luck for me. It sold for $100. I would have paid only a couple of dollars for it. I remember posting about it online, and someone was like, do you scan each individual book to see if it's worth picking up? Because it had a good sell-through rate too. And I'm like, no, I literally just got lucky. I picked it up because I thought the cover looked interesting. I think it was in one of those, those steel bins that have like discount books in it. It wasn't on a shelf. It was just within those bins. And I saw the cover. It sort of looked a bit sort of like Blair Witchy horror. And the fact that it said Michelle Remembers, it made me think of like the Blair Witch. I wonder if this is supposed to be like whatever the book equivalent of a found footage book is. So yeah, I looked it up and it was worth $100. But I would say, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's nothing to learn from this except that hardcover books with their dust jackets in the horror section, if it looks interesting, if it looks different, maybe do a comp on it just to see. You might get lucky like I did with this. The next I'm not going to talk about for too long because I always do. It was a VCR DVD combo. Talk about them all the time, but you can learn to pick these up. I got it on Marketplace for $20 just a couple of issues ago, and it sold for $152. These things sell fast. I'm never left with one. They're always out the door quickly. They conveniently fit within like an Australia Post large box, so shipping them is easy. Just chuck some bubble wrap around. I haven't had an issue with them arriving in, a box with bubble wrap. Just know that whenever they're posted on Marketplace, if you're not messaging within like the first couple of minutes, chances are you're not going to get it. I got lucky with this guy because he showed me his phone after I went to pick it up, and there was like 30 messages from people wanting to buy this, and I just got lucky because I was like friendly with the guy, and I said I can come around now, and then I was like, he told me it was pending sale, he'll let me know, and I was like, no worries, if it doesn't sell then just send me a message and I'll come around, pick it up, pay cash, etc. And yeah, he messaged me and I went around there straight away. It was only like 5 minutes up the road, and I also told him my location where I live, so I think that might have helped, so that he knew that I was like 5 minutes up the road and I can just duck out there. But yeah, he showed me all the messages he received for this VCR DVD combo when there was a lot. So there's a lot of competition when these are chucked on Marketplace, but I still find them in thrift stores all the time. And there was an old man that was testing them out in a thrift store the other day, and he was playing his Star Wars VHS in it and testing out, the DVD too. And he was saying that they're quite hard to come by lately. They're quite hard to. He doesn't see them often in the thrift store, I should say. And yeah, he marked his for like $20, and I picked that up too. So they're always easy to find. Like I said, you want all the cords, you want the remote if you can, and yeah, if you chuck it up for $200 or even $150, you're going to sell it, and you're going to sell it quick. Now, there's a few other items that I sold that I'm not going to talk about now because this has been dragging on for a while. But if you go to flipweekly.com and check out the newsletter, you'll be able to find everything that I sold, including photos. Yeah, check that out so you can actually see what I sold. And with that is the end of Flip Weekly for this week. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback on the podcast, on the newsletter. I'm always looking to add new things to it. I'm always looking to run new competitions, new contests. I've just started doing video on Instagram, which I'd love for you to check out. It's sort of crazy to think that the videos that I've been posting have been getting more views than, the newsletter just in 1 week. I think the past 30 days on Instagram, it's something like 30,000 views, which it's like, I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest, because I think that when I started the newsletter, I thought that it's a different way of delivering content for this specific niche. And I was expecting it, honestly, to be honest with you, I was expecting it to blow up, only because it's sort of like when I'd like to enter like a new niche, I want to, sort of disrupt it a bit. And it didn't really do that. I think that maybe I might have chosen the wrong medium. And then when I did the podcast, I was sort of expecting, a similar sort of result, and it hasn't blown up it hasn't blown up to what I thought it would be. But then when I'm posting videos on Instagram and I'm seeing, 20,000 views on a single thing, when I've never gotten that on the newsletter or the podcast, I'm like, well, if I was doing that a year ago, maybe it would have been a better result now. So yeah, I think just let me know if you prefer the newsletter, if you prefer the podcast, if you prefer the video. I think that I've said it from day one that video is the best medium for this, because people want to see the items that you're buying and they want to see the hunt, really. But yeah, I'd love to get the feedback from that. There's so many different ways you can contact me. If you haven't figured it out by now, you'll never figure it out. But yeah, hit me up. I would love to hear from you. And thanks again for listening. Please subscribe. Please leave a review. All that sort of stuff. I'll see you again next week. Bye.